Adding a video or audio effect to a clip in the timeline can be performed in several different ways. With a clip or clips selected in the sequence, I can go to the Effects drop-down menu and access all the different video effects that I can apply. You can also right-click over your selected clip or clips and choose Add Effect from the menu. There's also a shortcut for accessing your video effects, and there's also the Effect button over here along the left. When I click on it, I receive the Effect ribbon. All these methods will bring up the Effect ribbon, where I can apply any one of the many different video effects. Whether it's a time warp, a resize, a text tool, color correction, sparks for third-party plugins, a blend tool, a wipe, or an axis. Understand the axis tool is considered a super tool. Not only does it give you transformation control for your selected clip or clips, but you access keying, masking, and tracking tools, just to name a few. I'll choose color correction, and a color correction tool is now applied to the selected clip. Now you can see in the pipeline here, we start off with the image that was the clip, then there's a color correction applied to it, and then the end result. And when you apply the color correction tool or any other tool, you will receive a subset of those parameters relevant to that selected tool. If I go back to the effects ribbon once again with the same clip selected and I add a time warp tool, notice that the time warp is applied and processed prior to the color correction, even though I added the time warp after I applied the color correction tool. The order in which you see these tools in the effect ribbon from left to right is also the processing order of these tools. If I add an axis tool, you'll notice it's applied after the color correction tool. And as I said, each tool is being added in the flow, and as I select each one of them, the subset parameters become available to me. I go to time warp. I now access the parameters for the time warp. If I want to slow this clip down, I can enter a value of 50% in its field and click enter. If I select the axis tool, I now get parameters for the axis tool. If I wanted to scale this clip up, reposition it on the X, the Y, or rotate it and change its transparency and different blend modes, I can do so with the axis tool. You can mute a tool by clicking on the blue highlight or right-clicking over a tool and choosing the mute option. Or you can use a shortcut to mute the tool also. If you want to collapse the effects pipeline on a temporary basis, come down to where it reads Effects and click on it and you will hide or collapse it. I click it again, I will expand it, and now I have access to all the tools that are in my effects pipeline. You can delete tools that are applied by right-clicking and choosing Delete, or you can use the Delete button for the selected tool. And then another option is to take the tool, drag it down to the bottom of the UI until you see the garbage can and release, and you throw the tool away. Let me undo that by hitting Command-Z. A fast and easy hotkey to hold to delete a tool is the Alt or Option key. I hold it and click on a tool in the effects pipeline and it is automatically deleted. For now, I'm going to delete the time warp tool and focus only on our color correction tool. Let me first zoom in my clip by first clicking and dragging on the horizontal scroll bar. And then if I click and drag on the track in the patch area, I can expand the height of the track, and you can see you also have indication of what tools are applied to an individual clip directly in the timeline. So with the color correction tool activated, I can come in here and start using some of the subset parameters such as contrast, my offset, and your gain. You also have access to saturation and hue. If you want to enter into any tool you've applied in your timeline and access all the parameters that are available to you, select that individual tool and then choose Enter Editor. We now step into the color correction tool. By default, we are in the overlay mode. If you want to step out of overlay mode and go to the standard mode, go to the right side, click on the full screen button, and you'll step out of overlay mode. Also notice that the adjustments made in the timeline obviously are carried over into the full editor mode. But now I can start accessing all the different parameters that are available to me here inside the Autodesk Color Corrector. I can work on a histogram, I can work in curves, I can switch to different channels and make adjustments to my curves for my look that I'm trying to develop. Once I want to return to my timeline, I have the option to render this color correction prior to exiting it, or if I choose the exit button, I go back to the timeline and you can see the adjustment has been made to my clip. Notice there's a black dashed line above the clip. This is indicating that this clip has a tool applied to it and it has not been rendered yet. Over on the left hand side, I can click the render button, then along the lower left bottom of the UI, I can see the progress of this render of the color correction. Now if I play back my clip, we can see the color correction has been applied to the clip. You can copy and paste different tools onto other clips very easily. If I right-click on my color correction in my effects pipeline, I can choose Copy. Then if I select another clip, I can right-click and choose Paste Color Correct. And that color correction tool is now pasted into this clip. Let me undo that by hitting Command-Z. If I select the clip with a tool and pick it up, I can drag and drop it onto another clip, and it will also paste that color correction onto that clip. You can do the same thing by picking up your color correction or any timeline effect and drag and drop it from one clip onto another. Now this color correction tool has been applied to all three of these clips. You can even pick up a tool and drag it into a folder where it can be added into the media library as an effect clip that can be repurposed anytime you want to. Now if I select my FX clip and I drag it down into timeline, once again I can apply it to another clip.